In this video, I'm going to show you why you may or may not want the WSKEN tempered glass screen protectors for your S25 Ultra. I've got all three tempered glass screen protectors here that WSKEN offers. We've got one privacy glass, one clear glass with 9H hardness, and then we also have another one that has 9H plus hardness tempered glass that's supposed to survive a 12-foot drop. So I'm going to go through the full installation for all three screen protectors. We're going to see how they fit, how they feel, how well the in-display fingerprint sensor works, as well as the S Pen. And you're definitely going to want to stick around until the end of the video because I will be testing out the durability with a drop and a scratch test. And in the end, you'll know which one of these screen protectors are right for you. And if you want to pick either one of these up, I will be putting product links in the video description. So let's get started. So first we're going to test out the privacy glass, and it comes in this really interesting installation guide. You get two tempered glass screen protectors, an installation packet, a how-to guide, and some other paperwork along with a squeegee. So the first thing we need to do is to thoroughly clean off our screen with an alcohol wipe, then dry it off. Then we're going to take our phone with the camera going towards the top of the installation tray here. Just kind of push this into place. And I would use our little drying cloth to kind of press in the rest so you don't put any of your fingerprints on the screen. Just make sure that it's in there really good. Then lay this plastic strip down over the top of your phone and then close the lid, making sure that the little piece of pulse tab here is sticking out of the top of the guide, and just clip this into place. Then hold the sides of the guide with one hand and pull out the tab. We're going to wait 20 seconds, then press down here where it says press and just run your finger up the middle of the screen. Then we'll open up the guide, remove the top cover, and then we'll get the phone out kind of from the bottom, and we'll take a look. So installation looks pretty good. We do have a bubble right here, I don't know if you guys can see, and we have a little bubble down at the bottom there, and there's one right there. So I'm just going to use the squeegee to try to push those out. All right, so I was able to very easily get those bubbles out with the squeegee. Installation looks really good. I don't see any bubbles. I don't see any lifting. We do have a cutout for our front camera. The edges are also rounded off. There's also a gap all the way around the phone for case compatibility, which we will be testing out. As far as the touch, feels super smooth, just like the glass that's on the phone. And as far as fingerprints, it seems to do a pretty good job at rejecting fingerprints too. There's only very slight smudges on the screen that you can very easily just wipe away. And you can also see that you lose the anti-reflective properties of the S25 Ultra with the screen protector. So let's take a look at the screen. And as you can see, the screen is kind of dull. So all you're going to need to do is go in and turn up the brightness of your phone, and everything looks crystal clear. Touch working perfectly fine, no issues there. It's nice and smooth. Let's test out our fingerprints. Fingerprints seem to be working fine. It's also pretty quick. Nice. If you are having trouble with your fingerprints working, just go and re-register them. And then I would also recommend turning up the sensitivity on your phone as well. But you can see the privacy screen. When you turn it to the sides, your screen totally disappears. But if we turn it up and down, you can see that there's really no effect. So it only works from side to side. Now let's take a look at the screen as if we're looking at it through polarized sunglasses. And you can see that there's only a very slight rainbow effect. And if we twist and turn, you can see that the screen rainbow kind of gets a little worse. But if we're looking at it dead on, this is pretty much what you're going to get. And I think that looks pretty good. So now let's take a look at the edges to see if there's any screen bleed. And you can see that there is a slight bit on the side there. And if we look at the other side, you can still see a little bit of a screen bleed there. So now let's put this in one of our cases. Seems to fit this case perfectly. I don't see any lifting, don't see any bubbles, and it almost comes up to the bottom and the top of the case. There's just a slight gap. You can see right there, and we get a slight gap on the sides as well. So not a lot of room for dust and dirt to collect, which is definitely a plus. Now let's test out our S Pen. Seems to be a pretty straight line to me. As far as the experience with the S Pen, there's only a slight bit of resistance, not a lot, and the S Pen seems to be working just fine. So everything's looking good so far for the screen protector. Now let's move on to the scratch and the drop test. So for this test, we're going to be dropping a 2.4 ounce steel metal ball at a starting height of 2 feet. If the screen protector doesn't crack, we'll move it up foot by foot until it eventually does. So here we go at 2 feet. Moving on to 3 feet. 4 feet. 5 feet. 5 feet. So this screen protector lasted up until a 5-foot drop, which is pretty impressive because privacy screen protectors typically don't last that long. So now let's test out the scratch resistance. So regular glass starts to scratch around a Mohs hardness number 6, so we're going to start off with the number 5. Then we'll move on to a number 6. And then finally, a number 7. So if we take a closer look, you can see there are no scratches at the number 5. There are slight at a number 6 and a little deeper at a number 7. So scratch resistance is pretty standard for tempered glass. So installation for the screen protector was really easy. It also does seem to be case friendly. It lasted up until a 5-foot drop, and scratch resistance seems to be pretty standard for tempered glass. And it also seems to work well with the in-display fingerprint sensor and the S Pen. So now we're going to test out the regular clear tempered glass. It also has this really cool kind of installation guide. Just open it up. So here we get 2 clear tempered glass screen protectors, an installation packet, some installation guides, and a squeegee. So first clean off your screen with the alcohol wipe, then dry it off. Then take your phone and put it inside the guide with the camera going towards the top here. And press it into place with your drying wipe. Then just lay this sticker down over the top of your phone and then close up the guide, making sure that the sticker is sticking out of the end of the guide. Make sure it's closed up really well. Then hold down on the sides of the guide with one hand. We're going to peel out the little tab at the bottom here. We're going to wait 20 seconds for it to adhere to your screen. Then slide your finger up the bottom just like this. We'll open up the guide. This started to adhere to the screen when I opened up the guide. It should have done it a while ago, but it's doing it regardless. Then remove the top sticker here. Then we can kind of pull out our phone from the bottom. And we'll take a look. So installation looks pretty good. I do have a bubble in the corner here and a little bit of bubbling up at the top, but we'll just use our squeegee to kind of push that out. So we'll take a look at the screen protector. Everything looks pretty good. I don't see any more bubbles, no lifting. There is also a gap all the way around the phone for case compatibility. You can also see there is a cutout for our front camera. You can also see that you've lost the anti-reflective coating now on the screen, and the edges are also rounded off. As far as the touch, feels nice and smooth, just like the glass that's on the phone. And as far as fingerprints, Seems to do a pretty good job at rejecting fingerprints as well. And the little smudges that are there, we can just very easily wipe away. Let's take a look at our screen. Screen is nice and clear. No issues with touch. Working fine. So now let's take a look at the screen as if we were looking at it through polarized sunglasses. And you can see if you're looking at it dead on, there's only a very slight rainbow effect. Not horrible. If we start to turn it, you can see that the rainbow does get a little worse. But it's definitely not horrible. Now let's test out our fingerprints. Fingerprints seem to be working really well. Try one with the screen off. Yeah, fingerprints are working fine. And if you're having issues, just re-register your fingerprints after the installation and maybe turn the touch sensitivity up on your screen and make sure your fingers aren't really dry. And let's take a look at the sides to see if there's any screen bleed. And it does look like there's ever so slight. The same as there was on the privacy screen. Just a little bit of screen bleed, not a lot. Now let's put our phone inside of our case. Seems to fit the phone really well. I don't see any issues, no bubbles, no lifting. You can see that there is still a slight gap on the bottom of the phone, as well as the top and on the sides. So it should be compatible with most cases. So now let's test out our S Pen. I think that looks pretty straight to me. And as far as the experience, there's only a slight bit of resistance. The S Pen seems to be writing perfectly fine on the screen. So no issues with the S Pen either. So again, everything's looking great for this screen protector. Now let's move on to the scratch and the drop test. So again, we're going to be dropping a 2.4 ounce steel metal ball at a starting height of 2 feet. If the screen protector doesn't crack, we'll move it up foot by foot until it eventually does. So here we go, 2 feet. Moving on to 3 feet. 4 feet. 4 feet. So this screen protector lasted up until a 4-foot drop. Now let's move on to the scratch test. So regular tempered glass starts to scratch around a Mohs hardness number 6. So we're going to start off with a number 5. Then we'll move on to a number 6. And then finally a number 7. So if we take a look at our screen, you can see that there are no scratches at the number 5. There are very light at a number 6 and a little deeper at a number 7. So scratch resistance seems to be pretty standard for tempered glass. So installation for the screen protector was really easy. Again, it also does seem to be case friendly. It lasted up until a 4-foot drop. Scratch resistance seems to be pretty standard for tempered glass. And it also seems to work well with the in-display fingerprint sensor and the S Pen. And now we're going to test out the 9H Plus hardness glass. I'm pretty excited for this one because they say it's supposed to withstand a 12-foot drop, but we'll see about that. It also has a dust-free installer as well. It's a little different than some of the other tempered glass WSKEN screen protectors we've been testing. So this kind of opens up from the top. Looks like we get 2 clear tempered glass screen protectors. We get some installation packets and a squeegee, and that's it. Then we need to clean our screen with the alcohol wipe, then dry it off. So then we're going to take our phone and put it inside the tray here, making sure that the camera cutout goes towards the roller on the guide. Place the top of the phone down inside the guide just like this, and then press that down at the bottom. Should be flat. Then you can use your dust sticker to remove any dust you might see. Then take one of your screen protectors, making sure that the little plastic nub here goes into the hole at the top. We'll just press that into place and then just let this rest down on these little posts on the guide and put those through the hole just like that. So the screen protector is not actually touching the screen. Then we'll close this up. Then hold down on the guide. Then hold down on the guide with one hand, and we're going to pull the tab out with another. Then you're going to lift up on the guide. And then we're going to hold the guide with one hand and pull out with the other. Kind of hold the tray, just like that. And then we'll press it back into place and lift up on the guide. We can remove the top plastic protector and then kind of push your phone out from the back. I'm going to take a look at the installation. Installation looks really good. I do have some little bubbles down at the bottom. You guys can see right there. So I'll just use the squeegee to get that out. Other than that, the installation looks perfect. I was able to get those bubbles out on the bottom. There is a slight gap all the way around the screen for case compatibility, which we will be testing out. The edges are also rounded off. This is a full coverage screen protector, so it does cover your camera. Glass feels super smooth, just like the glass that's on the phone. You can also see that there is no anti-reflective coating. As far as fingerprints, does seem to do a great job at rejecting fingerprints. There's only very slight smudges that you can just very easily wipe away. Looking pretty good so far. So let's test out our facial recognition. Facial recognition working perfectly fine, and you can see the screen is crystal clear. Touch also working perfectly fine, no issues there. Let's test out our front camera. Front camera looks beautiful, nice and clear. No issues there. Now let's take a look at the screen as if we're looking at it through polarized sunglasses. And as you can see, this screen protector has a slight bit of rainbow effect. Even if you're looking at it dead on, you still see a slight rainbow. And then as you twist and turn it, the rainbow gets a little worse. So if you're not looking at it dead on like this, there's no rainbow, but if you're looking at it dead on, there is a slight, like a yellowing effect. And now let's see if there's any screen bleed on the sides. I can already see it already. You can see it, just a little bit of a screen bleed from the side there, and on the other side, there's just a little bit as well. Now let's put our phone inside of our case. And it looks like the screen protector fits this case perfectly. There's only a slight gap at the bottom here, a little bit at the top, and it almost comes up to the edges of the case on the sides. So the screen protector should be case friendly. So now let's test out our S Pen. Try to make a straight line here. It looks pretty straight to me. And as far as our experience with the S Pen, there's only a slight bit of resistance. I don't see any issues with the S Pen. Seems to be working perfectly fine. Now let's test out our fingerprints. Fingerprints seem to be working pretty good. It's also pretty quick too. So nice. So again, if you're having issues with your fingerprints, just re-register them after you install the screen protector and maybe turn up the touch sensitivity on your screen. So again, everything's looking great for the screen protector, just like the other two. But now let's test out the durability with the drop and a scratch test. So once again, we're going to be dropping a 2.4 ounce steel metal ball at a starting height of 2 feet. If the screen protector doesn't crack, we'll move it up foot by foot until it eventually does. So here we go, 2 feet. Moving on to 3 feet. There is a slight mark there, but it's not cracked yet. 4 feet. Still no crack. 5 feet. 5 feet. So even though WSKEN stated this screen protector should last up until a 12-foot drop, in my testing, it only lasted up until a 5. So now let's move on to the scratch test. So again, regular screen protectors typically start to scratch around a Mohs hardness number 6. So we're going to start off our test with a number 5. Then we'll move on to a number 6. And then finally, a number 7. So if we take a closer look, we can see that there are no scratches at the number 5. There are ever so slight at a number 6. Let me actually wipe off the screen just to make sure, because those level 6s are really light. But they are still there. So no scratches at a number 6, very light at a number, no scratches at a number 5, very light at a number 6, and a little deeper at a number 7. So scratch resistance is still standard for tempered glass. So installation for the screen protector was pretty easy. It also does seem to be case friendly. They claimed it lasted up until a 12-foot drop, but it only lasted up until a 5. And scratch resistance seems to be pretty standard for tempered glass. It also seems to work well with the in-display fingerprint sensor and the S Pen. So as you saw in my testing, there's really not a lot of difference between the drop protection in the best tempered glass screen protector that WSKEN makes versus the privacy and the cheaper clear tempered glass. But what do you guys think? What do you look for when you're picking a tempered glass screen protector for your phone? Let me know in the comments below. And again, if you guys want to pick any one of these up, I will be putting product links in the video description. And if you guys enjoyed the video, it would really help out the channel if you gave me a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Thank you all for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.